All right. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Porter, for having this conversation with me. I am Shane McCarthy. I'm the H2 water expert. My focus is on molecular hydrogen and hydrogen therapy, but just health overall. I want to see people go from mere surviving to thriving. And
Mhm.
the physical body is one aspect of that. The mental, emotional, spiritual bodies and other layers are things that you can really get into with BrainTap technologies. And I've had a phenomenal experience with it, primarily with one track in particular, the World Peace Quest. Big fan of that track.
Mhm.
I hear you I can hear it and recite it probably front to back because I've listened to it so many times. But there's thousands of different tracks, and so let's just get started with how you got how did BrainTap start?
Okay. Well, BrainTap was birthed out of I sold a franchise company that I owned, and that started actually because my dad was a Silva instructor, Silva method, where they used a sound called the Silva sound and
Yep.
put us into a relaxing state where everyone in the group, like there might be 40 or 50 people in the courses. My dad was the Silva instructor for Lower Michigan, and it helped him with alcoholism. It helped me with my grades, and basically all through school, and it started using it what they call the Silva method
Yep.
to basically use my mind.
Yeah,
And then,
I'm familiar with the Silva method. I know an instructor out of Maryland.
awesome, yeah. And so my dad was one of the very first. They called them silver instructors. So he was one of the first 20. And so we
Very
grew up
cool.
with that. And then I just a series of what I call God winks, where
Hmm.
God puts you in the right place so that you meet the right people. I met a group called Light and Sound Research, and the story's told in one of my books. But the we basically took a industrial unit, which is called the SILS, the Sensory Input Learning System, and we miniaturized it into what's called the MC square because we all liked Einstein, so we made it that way. And
Yeah, okay,
then
I saw where that came
that
from.
was way back in the 80s. And then what happened was as we continued to work, we couldn't sell these things like on a store shelf. They needed somebody like a practitioner. So we started building out a practitioners network. We now have 3,000 practitioners. But at that
Wow.
time, I was a franchise company. So I bring people in as a franchisor and they would build out clinics. And then I sold that in 2002. But in 2012, um, that company was going under because the guys that bought it from me, even though they had more money than God, they didn't have the right mentality. My thinking about business is help people make money. If you make money, then help people in this world of self-help, you're never going to win. You've got to help people first, and the money will follow. And
Yep.
so I ended up getting all of my intellectual property back, which means I got back the designs for the light and sound machines. I got all my tracks back. I don't use those tracks now because they're older. They were done with tape machines, if you can imagine that, cassette tape.
I love
And
it.
so now they're all digitalized.
Yeah.
But in 2012, I upgraded the system. I actually found out that frequency, we had light and sound all the time. And of course, there's frequencies in those. But what we found out was we could use light in the ears because
Mm.
all the blood in your body goes through your ears every 3 to 4 minutes. And if we can put light energy there. That light goes into the brain, starts the Krebs cycle, and actually starts to create ATP, which creates oxygen and nitrogen and vasodilation, blood flow, circulation for the brain. And so that changed everything when we started working with autistic kids. One study actually found that when we got the kids up to 23% alpha, 90% of those kids started speaking with no speech pathologist. Just because the brain knows how to speak. So I mean, incredible things started happening, and then one thing led to another, and we've continued to build out our doctors network. We have over 3,000 clinics now using it, and
Hmm.
I'm on the road. Hopefully next year not as much, but I've had over 50 events this last year.
Wow.
Um,
Were you
Sometimes
at
3 events in a weekend.
were you at Maps?
We weren't at MAPS, but we were at A4M.
I
We
was
had
just
somebody
gonna
there at MAPS. I didn't go to MAPS, but we had a team there.
Yeah, the naturopath that I work with, Dr. Taylor Bean, she's a fairly well-known naturopath. She was at MAPS, and
Mm.
if she doesn't know about this technology, I'm definitely going to be passing this recording on to her because I am glad that you brought up a couple of things. One, basically what I talk about, and that is purpose over profit. You know, if you
Mm.
focus on the perfect purpose, the profits will show up. Don't like let's that should be the secondary reason why we're doing what we're doing, and that's I love that, and that's something that aligns me with me very well. But I'm also very glad that you brought up the light in the ears because you know the light visor that goes across your eyes, that makes sense. It's like binaural beats for your eyes, if I'm
Mhm.
correct,
Yes.
right? And the purpose of that is to improve hemispheric synchronization in your brain. And so I didn't really understand the lights in your ears, and now I do. So thank you for explaining that aspect to me. Really cool the progress you've made with kids that have autism and are on the spectrum of that. Like that's because it become a much more common issue these days. And you know, I believe you've heard the quote, if you want to figure out the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And you know,
Yes.
I believe that is the secret to our healing. I believe personally that the greatest healer for the human body is the human body, and it's just a matter of getting yourself into alignment to allow yourself to do that. So let's go through some of the different categories that are
Sure.
involved because I love how immense it is. I was showing because I sublease my little office here out of a dental office, and I was showing
Mhm.
him that they have the dental. You have the
Yes.
dental
Stress-free dentistry. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, but then there's also I love that there's a Christian category because I love that there's the that aspect of the spiritual. It's marrying spiritual and science and technology, and it's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we tell people it's not about believing that it works. This is science. We call it brain fitness for a reason. Most people, their brain, which is 70% of the nervous system. So when you think about the nervous system, most people think of the spine and your arms and legs, but the nervous system, 70% of it resides inside your head. So
mm,
we need to tune that part of the brain. And if you don't have enough energy there, you can't drive energy down through the spine out to the limbs. Your balance is not working. And I think, as you said, it's not about giving you new information. It's about removing the resistance or the
mm,
confusion. There's four reasons why somebody's brain isn't working properly. Number one is thoughts. They have negative thoughts. They've actually proven in science that those people that have a propensity for negativity, they actually live 6 years less. They
that
also
makes total sense.
yeah, and they also have proven we can measure photic exchange at a cellular level because the mitochondria's job is to absorb light energy and transmit it. It seems really weird, but that's really our major energy source, not the food we eat. And
Hmm.
there's something called the electron transport chain that people in science know about. This is the base system of the body. Everything you eat, think, do, be around, everything your body is vibrating and teeming with energy and transfers it into energy called electricity in the body. That electricity is light. So the essence of us, we are light. So
Yeah.
when we think about this light and it's coherent light, so the body is, think of it like an alchemist. We can put in the most damaging garbage, right? So it could be toxins that are causing the problem with our brain.
Hmm.
And our body is designed to clean out those toxins.
Hmm.
We didn't know about it. Imagine you're in science class and they're telling you in 2015 about the lymphatic system, and they tell you the lymphatic system stops at the neck. Well, that's not true because during a study in 2015, a doctor noticed a system of the body that no one noticed in 200,000 years that activates only during level 4 sleep called the glial lymphatic system. This is a region of the brain that detoxes the brain. If you're not sleeping well, which two-thirds of the world isn't sleeping, you're
Hmm.
not cleaning your brain. So we have thoughts, we have toxins. Now we have
Hmm.
trauma. Now, if you have trauma in the body, of course, we have the red light therapy. What happens with light, not just is it synchronizing like we call it bioptical, like what you do with these
Binaural,
binaurals.
bioptical is
Yeah,
binaural, but for
yeah,
your
yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
But we know that when you close your eyes to meditate, I don't care who you are, I don't care who's listening. The reality is, in science, I've proven that out of 30,000 brains, I've only had 4 people that know how to meditate.
Yep.
Now
I meditate
they all
daily and
think they're
I
going
know
to
damn
theta. They all
well.
think they're going to these different brainwave states. I said, okay, we'll hook you up to the EEG. Let's see.
Yeah.
And what we find is they're all over the place. And what usually happens when you close your eyes, 99.9% of the time, the default mode network goes crazy. The Dalai Lama calls it the monkey mind. So they're actually doing more damage during meditation than good
Mm.
because the thoughts you have today, Deepak Chopra says, the thoughts you have today, you had yesterday, you had the week before, you had the month before, you had the year before. You keep dragging these thoughts on and on and on, even though the body that you're
Toxic
living
cycle.
in, Shane, this body is no more than 7 years old.
Yeah.
You've died thousands of times since you were born because that old you, it's like a snake shuffling,
Hmm.
sloughing off its skin. Your body is changing at a rate of 50 million cells per second. Your DNA, if I could take your DNA, Shane, and staple it to the floor, and it would stretch to Pluto. MIT, this is not me saying this is MIT
Hmm.
says that this viscous material that houses our DNA, the codes that build our body, its whole job is to absorb light energy in codes from the center of the galaxy, from our sun, from our stars, from our people, from our food, from our desks to our computers. Everything is being interpreted, and the body, as an alchemist, is then spitting them out to the body to tell it how to respond. And guess what? When they mapped the human genome and they said, hey, guess what? You're 99% junk because they said that DNA was 99% junk
I'm so
DNA.
glad you brought that
Yeah,
up.
right. In 2015, in 2018, we now have science that shows that 99% changes approximately every 40 seconds. So Shane, when we started this talk, you were a different person.
That's
When
so
the, when the
cool.
ancient rishis look out, they said, you never step into the same river twice. So here I am sitting in my office. I can look out at the Neuse River here in New Bern, North Carolina. And that water's out there. It looks the same as yesterday's Neuse River. It's
Hmm.
flowing the same way it did yesterday, but that's a new river. That's new
Hmm.
water. That's new fish. That's new sediment. The same thing's true with you and everyone listening. You are new and different. So, what's causing the problem? The fourth thing, technology. So, when you think about technology, we can use technology to hurt ourselves, look at
Hmm.
screens all day long up to the time we're
Doom
done and playing
scroll.
computer
Yeah.
games, all
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
Or we can use technology to scale and mimic nature, which is what BrainTap does, and we can
Hmm.
harness it and we can change the world one person at a time. And there's something that I want every listener, don't believe me, this is science now. Remember, it's not woo, it's science. What I want you to do, save your science for Sunday morning. I mean, save your woo for for Sunday morning, your beliefs. You don't have to believe this. This is science. Go look it up. There's something called the Maharishi effect.
I talk about this often.
Right? So when you think about the Maharishi effect, imagine every brain tapper in the world, 120,000 of us, all started doing brain tap at the same time and the same brain frequency. What MIT proved
Yeah.
5 weeks ago, they came out with a study, you can look it up. MIT proved that your thoughts go into a web of information that extends 10,000 miles away from you. This is MIT saying it, not Patrick Porter. This is MIT. They said there's a
Woo.
web of information that acts as an internet. This is consciousness. We're all sharing this consciousness. Science is becoming more woo woo than ever before, but we have the technology now to measure, adapt, improvise, improve, from
Cool.
aura rings to sleep studies, to
Biophotonic
all these things.
scanners, and that's the beautiful thing about I love you say so many things that I say. It's like, because I don't believe a word I say. Look up, that's the
Right?
beautiful part about the science that is out has proven what has gone on in the past. Spirituality, where and what is what's going to happen in the future. Quantum physics is really it's like we're talking about the quantum state when we talk about being, 10,000 miles away. That's quantum entanglement. And,
Right.
I love that you brought up the junk DNA, because I think that's really what has kept us as, more suppressed, is the distractions that keep us away from activating that DNA. And that, so when I have my BrainTap headset on and I've got those lights going through my ears and on my eyes, I got the different frequencies and the binaural beats, and the message that's coming from you, I am envisioning, each one of my 75 trillion cells that are in my body. I know that this is why your mindset and what you believe is everything, because your mind doesn't actually exist in the physical. Your brain does, but your mind doesn't. And yet it's everything to your physical, because it's how you are talking to yourself. And we are the creators of our own reality. It's just being able to get the distractions and attachments away, so that we can achieve that alignment.
Right. Well, the frightening thing is for most people is even that physical part you think you have, it's 99.999999999 to
Yeah.
the infinite number space.
Yep. Because
It's
if the
information.
Yep.
You are an information packet that's resonating and teeming with energy, like a force field on Star Trek. Your body and cells stay together and harmonize. In fact, they say now you're into water. So Dr. Emoto, who was one of the doctors
Yep.
we brought out when he was alive, we brought him out to Quantum University because
Wow.
he wanted to heal one of the rivers in Hawaii on the main
Wait.
island. And so
Okay.
when he brought it out, we prayed on the water, and
Yep.
did, and
Yep.
there were changes done to it because water holds memory, and every
Yes.
person is really a sack of water,
Yeah.
and if it's
Absolutely.
polluted and it has everything has a vibration, teeming with energy.
Yep.
So if we can put good, clean water into our body, think
Structured,
good, clean,
harmonized. Yeah.
purified thoughts into our mind, we're
Yeah.
going to, like you said, restructure our water. And then the
Yeah.
carbon atom, what's really incredible that I think that most people don't realize is when you look at the carbon atom, if you look at it under electron microscope, it looks like a pyramid. And when it
Okay.
aligns, like during meditation,
Yeah.
it becomes a coherent laser light system. So it moves the carbon. That's why if you don't have enough iron in your body, you don't have energy because of something called the
Mm.
electron transport chain again. You have to have those things. So there's this, let's say, energy part of ourselves, which if you look it up, you'll find they've done studies that when people die, the average weight is about 3/4 of an ounce when you die. What is
Yeah.
that 3/4 of an ounce? That's
Like,
you.
yeah, that's your
You,
soul.
yeah, you're not this body. This is, I tell people you're moving through a meat grinder and you're the BB in the middle. You don't ever change, but the meat suit around you changes, and as you move
Yeah.
through it, different things happen. And yeah, it's hard at times sometimes, and it's not at other times. But the reality is that you're never given anything you can't handle. The
Yes.
the, the problem is, and I like to tell people, you joined the human race. Think about that, the human race. This morning when you woke up, you were at the 100-yard dash and you went, "What? What am I at the 100-yard dash? I didn't train for this." Well, yes, you did. Maybe you didn't train for it, but you're doing the race.
Yeah,
You're
I
part of the
went,
human race.
yeah.
So what we need to do, things like brain tap, eating well, drinking good water, doing the things that we need to do to keep our body optimized, this helps us to run the race that we
Yeah.
have to run one day at a time for the rest of our lives. And
Yep.
there's no escaping it. You can't make
Yeah.
excuses.
You hear people say, "Oh, I'm gonna escape the matrix." No, there is no escaping the matrix. You are the matrix, and
Right.
it's harnessing that power and understanding that, and that's this it all comes from within. That's
Mhm.
from listening to the World Peace Quest,
Mhm.
and understanding that world peace, love, and harmony starts from within, because if it's to be, it's up to me.
Mhm.
That can sound like a daunting task, but it's not. It's as simple as understanding that. Everything out here is a reflection of what's going on in here. And you
Mm.
can't really truly expect world peace, love, and harmony out here unless it starts from within here.
Right.
And that's
I always tell
where,
people, even in physical space and time, you can go to YouTube right now
Mhm.
and you can type in synchronizing metronomes. And you're going to see somebody who starts 200 different metronomes all at different times. Within 3 minutes, those metronomes are synchronized.
Wow.
This is what happens with the cells in your body. I tell them it's
Yep.
kind of like cicadas. One
Yep.
cicada starts and the rest of them do, and then the whole group does. This is how brainwave electricity happens in the brain. Now, when you're standing next to somebody within proximity, which now we're saying is like 10,000 miles, but the
Yeah.
closer you are, the more
The
powerful
five,
it is.
5 to 15 feet that the Heart Math Institute has
Yeah,
now
yeah,
proven. Yeah.
yeah. When you're in that field,
Yeah.
you're actually exchanging information.
Hmm.
That's why some people who are sensitive say, I don't get a good vibe about that person, or I get a good vibe about that person. They're
Yep.
literally interpreting those signals, that information, because every cell of your body and every mitochondria is absorbing energy from everything around you, using the mirror neurons to put you in harmony or disharmony with it, depending upon your
Yep.
belief system and your attitude, and then broadcasting that back out to your environment. It's happening
Hmm.
whether you believe it or not. This is
Yep.
happening on a cellular level. So when you eat that candy bar or you drink that soda pop, and now you've caused stress to the biological system, there's going to be a stress that now the body has to handle because we're not designed to drink Cokes. We're not designed to eat candy bars. We're
Hmm.
designed to eat natural foods. I always tell people when they say, "What food should I eat?" I said, "Eat the food that God wrapped, not the food that man wrapped."
Love
Because
that. No, it's
if you
couldn't have,
look
I've
at
never heard
if
it
you
said
look at the
better.
food, yeah, if you look at the food that man wrapped, there's ingredients you can't read, your body can't
Hmm.
digest, you can't metabolize. That's the toxins we're talking about. Now, those
Yep.
toxins come also in the form of thoughts,
Yep.
attitudes, beliefs. So also today in this our day and age, unfortunately, most people are sitting too much.
Yes.
When
Sitting
we
is,
exercise
is,
when
is
we
the new smoking.
exercise, yeah, when we exercise our brain, we trigger something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factors. This is miracle growth for the brain. So, but what most people do is they don't do what's necessary to actually activate that BDNF. What you have to do at the end of your workout is just sit quietly for 5 minutes, or do a brain tap session at the end, or do some 4-8 breath, or do box breathing, or do some
Hmm.
psychological breathing, something to down regulate your nervous system after you've just stressed out your nervous system with the workout, which is fine. If you have HRV, you'll notice after a workout, you tanked your HRV. It's supposed to happen because you stressed it out. Now, four
Hmm.
hours later, it should be better than it was before you started. If it
Yes.
isn't, then you overtrained. If it
Gotcha.
didn't, or undertrained.
Or you didn't end your training properly. I
Right.
love that, and I'm definitely starting tomorrow morning. I'm going to sit and breathe for 5 minutes because I love that it's as easy as doing box breathing or any form of breath work. And I love I just love the different advancements with the different communities and whatnot that I work with. I'm very involved with a community called Human Garage. I'm sure you've
Oh,
probably heard.
yes. Yeah.
They're all about the fascial maneuvers,
Mm.
and I've learned a lot about fascia. I'm sure you know about fascia. It's quite fascinating.
Yes, right.
But
I always tell people that's the fiber optic system of the body. Most
yeah,
people think of the nervous system, but this moves through light. So
yes,
not through the nervous system, but at the speed of light,
it's what
through the
transfers
body.
that energy, that 5 to 15 feet that we're
Mm.
talking about. I mean, no kidding
Right.
that they wanted us 6 feet away from each other just a few years ago. Like when you understand these energetic principles and aspects of our body, you really do understand why a lot of things have happened. But and it's now it's okay. Let's move onward and upward. Let's evolve in the way that we came here to do. That let's activate that DNA that's been dormant for so long. Let's remember things like Atlantis. That's another actually one of my favorite tracks is the Journey
Yes.
to Atlantis.
Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
Dr. Keith Scott Mumby, I just got to meet with him at A4M. He lives in Las Vegas, so I got to sit down with him there.
oh man, I
Yeah.
wish I know so many people that were at A4M. I really wish I went to that.
Yeah. When you think
Next time.
about a connection What they did to us, unfortunately, during the COVID experiment was they disconnected us. They
Hmm.
know in the blue zone studies that connection is part of our equation for longevity and health. We are
Absolutely.
designed as a tribal people.
Yep.
Imagine you and I were in a tribe 1,000 years ago. We wouldn't work past 2 o'clock.
Hmm.
That would be crazy. We
Yep.
would go out in the morning, we'd hunt and gather. By 2 o'clock, we're heading back to the tribal village. We take our nap, we get up, we build our fire, we download the tribal knowledge while we're in front of the fire. That fire is actually burning and crackling at 10 hertz frequency. Your
Hmm.
brain is mirroring it. That fire is giving off infrared light. So
Yep.
we were biohacking without knowing we were biohacking.
So
You know,
at 10
but
hertz frequency, it's very close to the Schumann
yeah,
resonance
yes.
then. Yes, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So what we do now is unfortunately we go home, we watch the news, we drink
Eat
alcohol or whatever,
food-like
we stress out
products.
our
Yeah.
body, and
Yeah.
then we wonder why we're not sleeping. And then of course the tribal knowledge is being lost now. I don't know of any tribe that I've ever researched that said, "Hey, we keep the wisdom of the tribe with the youngsters." There must be some problem we have with our lifestyle. We're putting the elders into homes and letting them, you know, basically
We've
take all their wisdom with them into the great beyond instead
yeah.
of sharing that tribal knowledge and helping us to learn, grow, and evolve.
We forget the weight that grandparent has. It's your grandparent, your grandmother, your grandfather. That's something that should be honored, and it's the opposite. I mean, we live in upside down world. We do most things the complete opposite the way that we should have. Even women in the workplace, in my personal opinion, is another part of where we've gone wrong. You mentioned we go out and hunt and gather and stuff, and the women would raise the kids. And now we're so distracted and obligated to work to create trade our energy for currency that we spend on primarily energy, and then because we have to work, we give our kids to daycare and let other people raise our
Mhm.
kids,
Yeah,
and it's just like if you take yourself out and give yourself that 30,000, it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't take a rocket scientist
right,
to figure out that we've gone wrong. We don't need to know
right.
where and when and stuff. We just need to know that we've gone wrong. That's okay. Let's fix it. Let's evolve. A lot of people, as they wake up to this, they say, get angry about it. Oh, we need a revolution. It's like, no, we need to stop revolving and doing the same things we've done over and over again. That's what we came here to do, whether we know it or not, but we came here with a mission. And, when you talk to yourself, again, your body's got 75 trillion cells. Not every cell gets along with every other cell, and that's okay. But they're there to work symbiotically in harmony for the macrocosm that is our body.
Right. Yeah, and then there's communication going on at the cellular level. So
Yep.
that communication then bleeds over into your social relationships, which bleeds
Hmm.
over into your city, your state. So when you think about the World Health, the World Peace Quest that we did, the whole idea is when you are resonating like one of those metronomes, you're resonating in harmony and peace,
Hmm.
then your family starts resonating, and then who they come in contact with starts resonating, and pretty
Ripple
soon
effect.
this becomes a naturally
Maharishi.
occurring phenomena.
Yep.
You can wake up all pissed off and think the world is against you and that there's some evil in the world that's going to take over, or you can focus on the positive. I mean, obviously we got to be aware of the negative stuff that's out there
Of
and avoid it.
course.
But the reality is that there's certain things that I mean, there's a drama going on, there's a play going on that is way
Yes.
beyond what people know.
The
And
world is a
why,
stage.
yeah, and why spend our time thinking about it? And if somebody's in denial of that, I'm sorry, but
Yep.
what they're doing is a psyop. They're
Yep.
manipulating the brains, and it's the biggest experiment ever perpetrated on the American people. Can you imagine? They know the information came out. They knew it would kill a certain amount of people, and they still released it
Hmm.
because the government paid them a lot of money to do that.
Hmm.
It's like, why? There's something going on beyond what we know about, and we have to take care of our own health. We have to realize that panic and fear and stress, that's the everyday life for most
Hmm.
people on earth. That's not my life. I
Yep.
want to have peace, calm. I want to help people. It's almost like there's two earths at the same time going on, and we need to let them do their thing because they're going to kill themselves off. Let them do the
Yep.
things. I mean, they're not eating properly, they're not sleeping properly, they're not exercising properly, they're drinking bad water, they're
Yeah,
fluoridating the
yeah. The
water, they're
foods
doing
that
all
we
the things.
eat, the drinks that we drink, the air that we breathe, the overall stress, our environment in general is reached a toxic level. And
Right.
you know, I love what you're saying because it's again, it's all you just basically saying what you're saying in the World Peace Quest, and that you know, it's. We let people like us enjoy the challenge of living
Mm.
in peace, love, and harmony in a world that has so many other emotions. And you know it's we hold space for those while they live and you know do it in their terms, but as a collective we are healing individually, and it's not if, it's when. And you know I believe a lot more people are activating the DNA inside of us is activating at a quicker rate than people realize. We're a lot of us that wear our tinfoil hats have been like,
Yes.
okay, when is this? You know, whether you look at it as, you know, from Eckhart Tolle as a new earth or 3D to 5D or the return of Christ or however you want to look at it, it's just different perspective. It's just like, we're all kind of just like, okay, we're ready.
Right.
But, you know, you know, until that happens, we're going to continue to people like us are going to continue to control the very few things that we can control, and that is our energy frequency and vibration. Everything else is just it's a drama, it's a stage where the world is a stage, we're watching a movie. It's a weird movie.
Yes.
But you know, if you are in more control of your central nervous system, it is more of a kind of a comedy. Whereas if you're in it and not aware of it, that you're living a horror movie. You just might not necessarily realize it.
Right. And most people don't realize you can choose to tune out of that
Yep.
and tune into a more peaceful, loving, healthy environment because it starts with your thoughts. They did a study actually during COVID, which was pretty exciting, where we can measure the photic exchange from the cells, and they measured the light energy emitted from the heart center. And people that looked at COVID as a threat versus people that looked at COVID as a challenge. When you said we have the challenge of doing these things, when you think of it as a challenge, you produce 200 times more light than the person that looks at it as a threat. So
Hmm.
imagine it's like they turned the dimmer switch down, and that light transmission, those are the codes that MIT is talking about that
Yeah. Yeah.
instruct the body. And we call it the circadian rhythm. A
Yeah.
lot of these codes do. Like if if we're not in bed by 10 o'clock, we don't make as much melatonin. If we're not in bed by 11, we don't
Yeah,
clean
yeah,
our
your
liver.
cortisol levels start spiking, and there's a
Yeah.
reason that if you go to bed by 11, you're usually probably up to like 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So all of this is because of our sun beaming information. It's not
it does.
just light. That light has information embedded
Hmm.
into it. And we tune our body to the right frequency. We have the right information to live in harmony and peace in that environment. The problem is we're so far from that, removed, because people think that happiness comes in a can, bottle, or a wrapper with ingredients we can't read, and they just chase that dream. The reality is that happiness starts within you. That's why one of my favorite tracks on BrainTap is Biohacking Happiness. You can create happiness within yourself. You don't have to wait for the weather to be good or somebody to give you good news or something like
Yeah,
that. You can choose today to be happy and
yeah.
start to create that that wonderful life right now. You know,
Do you know Dr. Samuel Lee? He
I've
goes by
heard,
this
yeah, I don't
the
know him
spiritual.
personally.
He goes by
Yeah,
the spiritual psychiatrist,
yeah.
and he one of the things he says that resonates very well with me is you are the one that you've been waiting for.
Oh
You know,
yes, yeah. I was
no
going to say that.
nobody's
I was
coming
going to
to
say
save
that
us.
earlier. There's nobody coming for you.
No.
You came here to be that one. And every person has superpowers. But imagine this, Shane. Imagine that you have a liability. Maybe you got hurt when you were younger. Maybe you have an addiction. Maybe you have a problem. And the first thing you tell somebody when you meet them, imagine, just put it in new context. I'm Superman, you're Lex Luthor, and I meet you for the first time. I take out kryptonite and I say, you know what, Lex? This kryptonite makes me powerless. All you have to do is put this near me and I don't have my powers anymore. No, Superman wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Superman puts it in a lead box, puts it in a vault, doesn't tell Lex Luthor about it, where to find it or anything. But so many people are out there telling people they think being vulnerable is good. It's not. Forget
Mm.
about it. Nobody cares about what you went through. So what? Get over it. That was your proving ground. There has never been there has never been a superhero. If you think of, because the superhero drama is like Campbell said, the hero's journey. Every
Mm.
person has to go through the dark night of the soul. You're not alone. Everybody went through it.
Yeah.
Nobody is immune to it. But those that made it out the other side, they have a superpower. So maybe you're an alcoholic and now you can say no to alcohol. Now you can help other people say no to alcohol. Maybe you couldn't sleep well. Now you have a strategy for helping people sleep. You can help people sleep well. Whatever your superpower is, maybe it's in getting more work done with less time, energy, and effort. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
every person has a superpower. Imagine
Yes.
if we all started activating those superpowers, what kind of world we'd live in. Instead of everybody looking outside themselves for something, what if we looked outside ourselves to say, how can I give everyone a hand up? So we can rise together instead of rising separately. That's my dream. And that's why we did the World Peace
Yes.
Quest.
What I want for me, I want for you. A rising
Mhm.
tide rises all ships. The way I
Mhm.
see it is if I win, we're all winning. If you're winning, we're all winning. That's why I'm so glad that we aligned and have this had this conversation. Now, one of the things with the World Peace Quest that I did want to bring up that I brought up to you on Instagram is like obviously, in the track it says for more information on this, go to worldpeacequest.com. And so Dr. Carl Parker, as you mentioned to me, has
Yes.
since passed. He probably like, okay, this world's on the next world to go on the quest there, but he
Mhm.
left his mark and it obviously left a massive mark for me. And it's just, it has activated me in ways that I really didn't expect it to. You mentioned that there's a new or updated version of that.
Yes, I have a new version of the World Peace Quest we're going to be putting up there that doesn't have that. But it's just one of the things we're creating. We don't have it quite all figured out yet, but we're going to have a way that if you're a BrainTap user, we can do sessions at the same time,
So
like the
those
Maharishi
we
effect.
can
Yes.
keep the Maharishi, and that's
Yeah.
I bring again I bring up the Maharishi effect often because I'm a big believer in it. I read about the Maharishi effect and transcendental meditation. I've also experienced it firsthand when I'm doing the fascial maneuvers with Human Garage in very
Right.
large groups of people. There's a very palpable difference when you do it with other people, and it's quite
Yeah.
it's incredible to see the trauma that gets released when you do these fascial maneuvers because you
Mhm.
store so much trauma, generational trauma in your fascia. And your fascia is, I forget what you called it, but it's like the mycelium to the plant and animal world.
Right.
It is how we're interstitially connected, and I love that. Man, I'm gonna send this podcast to Gary from who created Human Garage because I'd love to connect you guys. I mean,
Sure.
that's the cool thing about what's happening in the biohacking world, the health and wellness world. It's just so many people are now tapped into and getting on the frequency that understands that we need the only way out is the way in.
That's right.
And it's if it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
And that challenge is more and more fun the more and more time we go on. And so I mean it is my goal to have a clinic where people can do hydrogen inhalation while they're doing the brain tap tech, while they're doing maybe a PEMF mat or
Mhm.
red light therapy, and then to go into a cold plunge and do a breathwork class, and maybe we'll have Wim Hof in and stuff like that's my goal, is to have that. Could be it's happening all over the place, and it just I recognize the healing that the collective is doing at an individual level, and I am just grateful to be connected with people like yourself that have created such incredible technology, and the evolution of your technology is what I find very fascinating. So thank you again
Yes.
for
Yeah.
for
I mean,
everything.
you can share, obviously anyone listening, they can use your link and get a 14-day trial on the app. That's a good way to start. And then if they want to
And
upgrade
that's
that
how I
experience,
started.
they get that's it. Yeah. So we do get response, good positive response with just the audio. But when
Hmm.
you add the lights, it activates 30% more of your brain's neurocircuitry. That's the big difference. But you
Yep.
can start with the headset just to, I mean, with your earphones just so you can start to feel the sleep improving.
Hmm.
During our 14-day trial, 90% of the people that we did a little study on improved their sleep after their third session. They started scoring their best
Wow,
sleep scores they've had in a while. So
that's amazing.
there's two things we need to fix in all things having to do with wellness. Number one is how do we build stress resilience? And
Okay.
that is, you can't outthink a bad diet. So you got to have good quality water. You got to have good quality food to de-stress there. But then you
Yep.
also have to figure out how are you going to build resilience into your daily life because bad things are going to happen. How are you
Yep.
going to respond and bounce back? Number two,
Yep.
we got to move and breathe. Movement is life. Whether you're doing Tai Chi, yoga, dance, whatever you're doing to get your body moving, physically
Hmm.
working out, whatever it is, this body needs to move. If it sets
Yep.
too
Bodies in
long,
motion, stay in motion.
yes. And then number three, we have to do some kind of brain fitness. And whether that's mindfulness, brain tap, breath work, whatever it is, you've got to do something to keep those neurons wiring and firing. We need to keep
Yep.
positive, positive, and the negative, negative. And we need to always be vigilant that that space, that 6 inches between our ears is sacred space. What do you allow into
Mhm.
that space? And that's why on my sessions, you hear me say negative thoughts, negative concepts, negative beliefs have no control over you at any
Yep.
level of the mind, at this or any of the awakening levels of consciousness. And most people say, why do you say that? I say, well, I'm instructing the subconscious. When Bruce Lipton said 95% of what controls your life is your subconscious, I think it's 99.99999 because we
Hmm.
don't do crap. In fact, they've actually realized that we do more neurological activity when we're sleeping than when we're awake. We're actually
Abs.
dumber when we're
Yep.
awake than when we're asleep. Because when we're asleep, we're sorting out, we're organizing, we're planning our day, we're planning our future, we're planning habits, behaviors, all those things. But it's
Yep.
based on what you did today. So, what did you do today to make your life better? What did you do today to improve your life with your family, your friends, your coworkers? What did you
Yep.
do today to say, hey, like the shaman says you should live your life like you're going to live forever, but plan your life like you're going to die today.
Mhm. Yes. Love
So,
that.
when you think about it, and it's like, what would you do if this was the last time you could say "I love you" to your family and friends? Well, how would you treat them if you knew this was the last moment? And then, so you wake up tomorrow morning, you get it again. You get to do it again. Every day
Yep.
should feel like Christmas or New Day. I always tell people it's like first day of school for me. I'm smelling erasers and paper and books, and for me that was always an exciting day, going back to school after being off all summer. So when you're off sleeping, your body's doing a lot of neurological work. It's preparing you for the next day of your life, and you're going to
Hmm.
run the race. Don't
Yep.
You can deny the race. You can say, I don't run the human
You
race.
fight that
But
race, but
yeah,
you're gonna do
you're going to
it.
be in it. And
Yeah.
before you know it, there you are. You're on the starting line. It's the 100-yard dash, and you never
Yep.
trained for it. The old story about the guy that he was helping a builder his whole life, and his wife said, you've been helping this builder for 50 years. You need to retire. So he goes to the builder and he says, you know what? I've been helping you for 50 years. I'm ready to retire. I'm gone. He says, no, wait a minute. I want you to build me one more house. He says, I told you I'm leaving. He says, no, just one more house. You can build it any way you want. You can build it with the best laborers. You can do whatever you want. So the guy went out, bought the cheapest materials, the cheapest labor, got that house done so quickly that then record speed. He goes back to the builder and he says, "Here's the keys to that house. That house is built." He says, "No, no, you keep the house. That's my gift to you for being such a great companion in the workspace." He says, "What? You didn't tell me that was going to be my house that I was going to live in. I would have used the best." I said, "I gave you no limitations."
Yep.
That's what God
I,
did to us when we
that's
got our
God.
bodies.
Yep.
We
Oh
and so
man.
when you're older, you can't complain, you can't blame God because your liver doesn't work or your heart isn't working or you have pain in your
Because of the
joints.
choices you
You
made.
you did that. But the nice thing is, You're not the same person that started this conversation. You are
Yes.
different. You are changing 50 million cells per second. Every DNA pair is changed every 40 seconds. You are new and different. You can stop dragging the problems of the past with you, which I call in my first book, The Dragons of the Past, because people want to keep dragging them on and on and on and tell people about them. Just let the dragons go. Free the
So I'm
dragons,
ordering that book immediately.
and then open your mind to the possibility that for you, there are greater possibilities. There are
Yeah.
possibilities you haven't even considered with resources you didn't even know you had, triggered by experiences that you haven't even considered.
Oh
We have to
man.
live in this infinite field of possibility. No longer, the person who has an addiction, what they do is they have one solution for an infinite number of problems. The reality is that there's an infinite number of problems and there's an infinite number of solutions. And every
Yes.
solution has a problem and every problem has a solution. We have to let the quantum brain, this powerful inner brain that we have, every neuron is more powerful than a Cray computer. Every neuron. We have
Mhm.
100 billion of them. And even though
Yep.
you might have had a really great college time and you burned out a lot of brain cells, the reality is that you make new brain cells every day. It's called neurogenesis.
Yep.
You
No.
also deprogram or unplug your brain called neural pruning. So the
Yeah.
secret is to prune the negatives to
Yep.
focus on the positive, like the old song goes, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negatives. It seems really simple, but people don't understand that is how simple it is when it's
Yeah.
said, God is simple, man is complex. We need to be simple about it, have a great day. We have to pretend that everything is working for our good, just like it says in Matthew.
Yeah.
Everything is working for our good. There is
Yeah.
no, whatever shows up today was meant to show up to show you what you need to do to get to the next level of who you are. There's no happenstance, there's no coincidence. That's why when you start doing these things, you start thinking, wow, I just thought about that person and they texted me, or they
Yeah,
called
the
me, or they
synchronicities
emailed me.
increase exponentially. It's quite interesting when you're aware of it when it's happening. You're like, holy shit, this is actually happening. Like, wow, this is cool. Again, there's a lot of people talking about, this neural pruning and neuroplasticity, and there's tools to help you, and then there's ways to do it on your own, and it's just all of the tools are to help you get to where you can have a more consistent stream of positive thoughts, where as opposed to what we're so used to of all the negative thoughts that we've had. And it's wild going against the programming and the indoctrination that we've spent our whole lives going through. It's it's not going to happen overnight. It is. There are times where I do the brain tap. I'm like, okay, I'm just doing it to do it, but I know that there are benefits to me doing it at the subconscious level, which I surrender to my subconscious mind, because your mind goes to sleep at night, but your subconscious mind never goes to sleep. Like you said, the power of your subconscious mind is immense, and aligning with that is really that's where you find out those superpowers. Um, but it's not easy to do. This world it's never been harder because of the mass. There's not just one psyop. There's psyops every freaking day. Life in itself is a freaking psyop when you start to unplug and realize that, yeah, no, we are not doing things the way that we are meant to do. We're farmed. If you want to really look at it, that we're born into a corporation. We're corporations ourselves. We've lost, we're reclaiming our sovereignty. And that's the beautiful thing about, the evolution that we are going through, and the beautiful part of the time that we're living through. It's messy, very, very messy, but at the same time, it's also extremely beautiful. A flower grows its roots in the dirt. And so before it gets beautiful, the dark night of the soul, if you will, it's just, but at the end of the day, we are made of light, and light. That's why light and God always wins.
That's right.
All right, my friend. Well,
Been great. Thank you.
yeah, this has been absolutely incredible. It was really cool finding out that we are a lot more aligned than I realized. Our mindsets, we share a lot of the same beliefs, and I love that. I appreciate that. I appreciate you and everything that you are doing and have done for the collective. Um, yeah, so if you want to check out and do the 14-day trial, in my on my Instagram account, in there's on the milkshake thing on the second page, it does have my link to BrainTap. It get just try it. Try it for 14 days and experience it. That's what's happening. The dual track, the dual audio tracks are really, really cool. And experience some of those. There's everything from addiction to chiropractic to dentistry to Christian to nighttime, evening, manifestation, physical goals. Like there's thousands of tracks, and I guarantee you, there's at least one out there for you that you're gonna really enjoy. Really enjoy.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
Thank you, Dr. Porter.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
Thanks for having me, Shane. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Bye.